A free Karen Reed. Truth revealed, darkness congregating, mobster lawyer chilling to the bone. What on earth would you not do to bring fiasco home? The fix is in the actors in the line. Some things we just know, even when the wrong ain't right. The fix is in not worry about a thing. Good prevails, so let me hear you sing. But none of it bears relevance. Parsing out the parlance, 47 down to 10. What's done is done, and here we are again. Some things we just know, even when the wrong ain't right. The fix is in, not worry about a thing. Good prevails, so let me hear you sing. So have faith, justice will prevail. Can you feel it? The thinning of the veil. Black, white, day, night, the Commonwealth derails. Sit down, motherfucker. Sit down, weasel demon. Hush now, talking cheap. The universe sees what you're doing. Around the world, sending love and light to Karen Reed and John O'Keefe. Our outrage fuels the fight. The fix is in the actors in the line. Some things we just know, even when the wrong ain't right. The fix is in, not worry about it, not a thing. Good prevails, so just let me hear you sing. It's disgusting, it's exhausting, but if she can't do it, so can we. We ain't got no quit, justice prevails. Free Karen Reed.
Hey, Shorties. Hi. Free Karen Reader. Thank you for being here, everybody. Hi, Poppy. Poppy goes, I hear we're starting another live stream. Yes, we are. We are. What are we doing? What are we doing? Well, it's the end of week 7 in the Karen Reed retrial. And as we have been for the last 7 weeks, after week 1, after week 3, after week 5, and now week 7, we have our amazing 13th juror perspective guest, Ms. Salty Sleuth Investigates, here to tell us where she's at. If you haven't watched the first 3 chats we've had with Salty, might be worthwhile. It's been a really interesting journey. I personally have found it so helpful to hear what's been sticking in Salty's mind and brain, what's been itching at her to want more to hear about from either the Commonwealth. Well, now we're going to find out about the defense case in chief, right? I have a feeling, but I shouldn't put words in Ms. Salty's mouth, that perhaps she's come off that fence and that fair juror's perspective fence, and she's starting to come to some conclusions. Before I go any further, though, yes, replay crew, hi. Thank you for coming and watching after the fact. Love you to leave a comment. That goes for everybody after the stream has ended. Tell us your thoughts. But also, if you'd like to watch the live chat replay on your handheld device, tablet, iPhone, Android. Kidding. Androids are fine. Everybody loves them. It's easy. All you do is swipe left on the comment tab and it'll give you the option to watch the live chat replay while you're watching on your little device, not your laptop. But you know what? Without further ado, shall I just make sure? Wait, what are we doing here? This. Hi.
Hello, how are you?
I'm well. Let me put my earbuds in so we don't get an echo. Sorry, my bad.
Oh, you're good.
Welcome back, Salty.
It's good to be back.
You've been streaming the trial on your channel as a little test run. Oh, you did Laurie Vallow Dable.
Girl, I can't seem to get away from these two. No offense, Karen Reed, but Karen Reed and Lori Vallow, right? I rolled out of Lori Vallow right into Karen Reed, and now we're back into Vallow again with another trial. I'm like, what? Who has two trials in that close to give? Whatever. But yeah, it's been exhausting, but it is what it is when you're covering true crime. So
Correct.
Yes.
And yes, we'll remember this when over the end of the year there isn't much happening in trials generally. So when it rains, it pours. But so
Well, I'm
you've been
looking forward to
streaming.
the break because Coburger is supposed to come at the end of the year if we're on time, run like a 3-month trial. So I'm supposed to cover that. So this has been a good test run for that. But wow. But I think it'll be okay. It is what it is. I do it because I like it. I enjoy it.
Yes, it doesn't feel so much like work when you love it, although they are big long days, and streaming is just watching. You have to kind of be on the ready for breaks in, when they go to SideBAH and stuff. So
Sometimes
yes.
it's work. Yes, ma'am. It is. But it's fun at the same time, so it is. It's all good. It's all good.
So week 7, the defense case in chief is I guess peaking is the word I used on the Camp Shorty weekend tweet. Can you give us a bit of an evolution of, just for the people who haven't watched the other episodes, although they should have, where you started with this, how you kind of, and I'll just let you go with your talk about it, but how you've gone through the weeks with, hang on, wait, and what, this, that, and where you are now. Compound question and go.
Yeah. No, yeah, you're good. So I went in with total open-minded, right? Because I didn't watch the first trial, but I followed stuff loosely on social media.
Right.
So I knew there were, questions about what happened in the house, all the things. But I still went into it not knowing a ton of anything because I never watched the Crash Daddies before, any kind of testimony. I just didn't do it. So I went into this completely open-minded and gave them both a fair chance to present their case. And I was just, the more the prosecution attempted to present, the more baffled I become as to what they were actually doing. Their witnesses seemed very sketchy and combative. There were questions about their testimony. There's a lot that was just starting to, out the gate, be a problem. And then you move into all the evidence stuff, collection, lack of everything, chain of evidence, finding random pieces scattered all about. The chief riding by and seeing a piece that all that just didn't, it was like, man, that's a lot, to take in. The fact that they tried to make Karen look extremely bad by introducing those texts with Higgins when that didn't do anything for me to show me she had intent to kill someone at all. So there was just a lot of, man, they really failed at what they needed to do. And so now the defense is up. And it looks like, because Karen said, I think it was Thursday, I did a short on it. I think it was Thursday after court, that they felt like they would be wrapped up by Tuesday of this week. So that's the 10th on Tuesday. So I give them till midweek. And if that's the case, that tells me we're only going to hear from these experts.
Mm-hmm.
We're not going to get the McCabe's on the stand and the Alberts. We're certainly not getting Proctor, right? And I'm okay with that because they don't got to prove something happened in that house. They had to lay the foundation for reasonable doubt. And I think that the ARCCA experts, when they came in, I'm super impressed with him. Set aside what they tried to say about him, but because their methodology, the way they tested things, the way he explained what he tested, why he was doing certain tests, how those tests even came about, all of that, absolutely mattered. I felt like this prosecutor, I don't know what his trip is, if it's an ego trip, a power trip, an asshole by nature. I think it's a little bit of all. I find him very arrogant. I think that I gave the judge a fair shot because I try to give all judges that, and I've seen far worse than this lady, but she really pissed me off with this guy because of the way she coddled his witnesses, but allowed badgering of the defense witnesses, allowed him to insult their witnesses. But if the defense even stepped a little bit toward that, she was on it, Johnny on the spot. You know what I mean? I feel like the jury's going to get that impression. Like I have, the defense aren't the bad guys here. It's that prosecutor guy that's such an asshole, right? Why is he being that way? I'm sure at least one has to be thinking like me. I'll be floored if not.
Absolutely. Well, that is a relief to hear you say that. So Welcher feels like a million years ago now, but it probably wasn't
No,
that
you're
long ago.
good. Yeah.
So Welcher, how do you feel about excuse me, the way in which Welcher testified, and his testing in comparison to the way in which Dr. Wolf from ARCCA testified and his testing?
Such a
Is that
difference.
yes?
Such a
Okay.
difference. Okay, here's my take on that. ARCCA do a lot of professional work for a lot of different entities. Like they said, the hockey league, that's impressive. Things of that nature, right? What Welcher does is work for insurance companies who dispute you and your car accident claim. He needs to benefit, anything he does needs to benefit the insurance company, right? It's not, so you're at fault, not them. So blah, blah, blah. But his method, okay, blue finger paint jokes aside, I've seen that type of paint used to see how things react when something's touched, right? Or to leave an imprint, that type of situation. Not in this kind of situation. The crash test dummies always, but we all grew up watching that stuff on TV, the crash test dummies, and things like that. But their testing was weird science. You're going to go in slow-mo and back over your own arm, and you're afraid to get hurt. Well, no shit. Everybody's afraid to get hurt, but that's no way to prove that car did that, right? And then I noticed that when the ARCCA presented their PowerPoint in the video, that lens did bust, but Dolphin and I noticed there were very large pieces that came off of that thing, like two. It wasn't like 50 pieces, just exploding taillight going everywhere, all up into the yard. It just, yeah. I don't think anybody knows what happened to John O'Keefe.
No, but it does. So for you at this point, though, and we haven't gotten to Dr. Rentschler, the other ARCCA expert.
I know. I'm excited about that.
Yes. So, but at this point, at the end of where we are with testimony, it doesn't feel to you like the Commonwealth has proven their theory or their case that Officer John O'Keefe was hit by Karen's Lexus?
No, because I think that they've been able to establish enough reasonable doubt that something else could have caused that, especially when you hone in on the fractures around the eyes and the bruising there in the front. That is, they've all testified to is very separate. I don't buy that the frozen hard ground caused that big gash in the back of that man's head. They all, I wish that the defense at one point had really touched more, really what he would, was it, what I guess it was, Welcher or whatever his name is, the frozen hard ground. I'm like, but anything that could have been a hard floor. There's no proof it was a hard
Mm,
frozen ground to start with. It could have been a hard floor inside the home. And so that's one thing that's always in my mind. And secondly, if she hit him with enough force to sling him all the way up into the yard, and I get it, it's not that far, but still in my mind, you got to sling him. That thing busting into a million pieces. They didn't prove to me it happened. The defense didn't prove that it didn't happen, but I'm more inclined to believe their theory, especially when it comes to what caused all of the injuries and how there was the lack of injuries from the waist down, right? To no
right.
hip, no leg, no anything. So I don't think either side can 100% say without a doubt he was or wasn't hit by a car, but the probability is very good that he wasn't. Now that I've seen
Right.
both sides present their evidence, I just don't. I have a hard time wrapping my head around. She even did it to start with. Secondly, that she hit him hard enough to shatter that tail light to that extent, and not realize she didn't hit something, right?
Mm,
If she hit him hard enough to explode that tail light, she had to have been aware she hit something back there. Maybe she thought it was the mailbox. If you're intoxicated, remember she said she was. I hit the mailbox. Oh shit, I'm getting out of here before they realize I hit their mailbox. Do you know what I mean?
yes.
But they failed to prove that even happened, or that a car hit him at all. So yeah,
So have you
reasonable doubt's all the jury needs, right?
there it is. Have you felt that there have been some, I don't want to load my question too much. I don't want to do a Brennan. Have you felt there's been gaps? There were gaps in the evidence that the Commonwealth presented to build that boat against reasonable doubt. Like, were there things that at the end of the Commonwealth case in chief, and I know they've still got a rebuttal case, but technically that's not their case in chief, right? It's their rebuttal of the defense case in chief.
Right.
Were there some glaring omissions for you to answer all those questions to shore up that boat against reasonable doubt in their case? And what were they, if so?
I feel like they tried extremely hard to prove things to me that I just didn't see. Even in all their clips of Karen Reed, their random clips they would insert, their way of getting her to testify without getting her to testify. And granted, she said it all, but the way they presented it, I know people were worried that the jury might perceive them a certain way. But if I'm a jury, I already know there's a trial one happened for whatever reason. Obviously, she's on the dateline. This is obviously a big deal. So the fact that she spoke's not even a big deal anymore. But I think the jury can see that a lot of things was taken out of context. And if you listen to her clips, she's clearly questioning, did I do this? Could I have done it? Never once. In the Crystal Rogers case, they have a Nancy Grace episode subpoenaed because Brooks went on there making statements about Crystal's death, right?
Yes.
And he's charged with murder now, so they absolutely can do things. But he didn't say any. There's nothing being said that I don't know that shows. I don't know. They just really failed to send anything home, especially a lot of time, and even how their own experts canceled each other. Right now, I got Whiffen telling me one thing. And when I put those times on paper and write down what he said was happening at these times, and I look at over here at this experts telling me what was going on at this time. Wait a minute. Wait a second. Somebody's wrong here.
And most of the jurors are
Sorry, I
taking
had to mute
notes.
words.
No, it's okay.
Yeah, I
Most of the
hope.
jurors are taking notes, so a lot like you.
Well, yeah, because there's
Hopefully
a
they're
lot
doing
of
the same.
there's a lot of information being brought out, especially like if you go back to when they were reading text messages and timelines and all, you know, they were reading a thread and the times and all this. If you not writing all that down and trying to recall it later, but the jurors aren't like me. They don't get to take their notes with them. I don't know. They get to put your notebooks down and all that stuff. I would be like, I need my notebook. You know, I need to study this tonight and review. But they do that during deliberation. So that's why they're all taking notes. But I hope that they're recalling, well, wait a minute. I heard this testimony earlier, because I'm able to do that. You know, I may not remember it 100%. I have to go back to my notes and look, make sure. But as something's being said, I can go, wait a minute, so-and-so already testified to this and it was different. You know, there was just too many red flags about the prosecution's case. And another thing that's bothering me, if I'm a jury, why are this other agency even involved, asking a lot of questions all over the place? It's like, and if I might add, while I'm thinking about it before I forget, Wolf said ARCCA was hired, and y'all correct me if I'm wrong, they were hired by the feds. Okay, I get that. And now I'm understanding way more about that than I did in the. You remember how confused I was about that in the very beginning, Lisa, and you came in and tried to tell me one day in my chat. But anyway, he said that they were hired to see whether or not that rock glass was thrown at that vehicle. And I'm like, why that specifically?
Well, I don't know. Well, we didn't really ever actually know.
That's what
And
I could have sworn that's what he testified to. I've got to review it to make double sure that's
Mm.
what I heard him say. But it was something
So-
specific with the damn glass. And so it made me go, why are they worried about this glass hitting that car? Then you go glass on the tail, on the bumper, the allegedly planted glass. I don't know if that was because of that. Investigating Proctor's bullshit. I don't know. I need to go back and listen to it again.
No, he didn't say. I don't think he said that because my interpretation of Dr. Wolf's testimony about making the cannon to test the glass theory to see was because they had all the facts. All of the facts in evidence given to them by the Department of Justice, by the feds, to be, and ARCCA was hired because the feds smelt a rat. Bigger picture in Norfolk County DA, in Norfolk County in the District Attorney's Office, and by association the MSP, because they have detectives within the Norfolk County District Attorney's Office detective division, and so ARCCA were brought in because the feds smelt a rat because it was deemed she was already charged, obviously very very quickly,
Right.
she, Karen Reed, and so they were brought in because there was so much fishy shit going on, and it didn't seem to be. Yes, Sandra Birchmore was also a huge factor in that. It was all rather ambiguous, but ARCCA were brought in then to say, because I think because the feds thought this seems sus, there's some real glaring defects in the investigation, and it feels dodgy, it feels like a frame up. Let's see if we can get some science to determine whether there's any possible way or not that a vehicle hit John O'Keefe, and whether that vehicle was Karen's Lexus, based on the evidence, air quote, gathered, air quote, appearing, revealing itself. So that's my understanding. And I think what Dr. Wolf said was that, and it was to Hank, so you probably maybe have switched off, but they did the cannon experiment just because they were told, or knew by way of all those files and shit given to them, that there was a glass found on the scene, and so perhaps that could have been what did it. So it was just one of their many experiments to eliminate.
Yeah, but I could have sworn when he first started testifying, before they even talked about the cannon building and all that, that's why I need to go back and listen, because I thought that they weren't really hired to reconstruct the accident. Like,
Oh
and I
no,
was like,
I think yeah, they were. I think they were hired to see whether It's because when it was very soon, very close to the first trial, that the defense team and the Commonwealth were given the doc, the TUI report, the file of 3,000 something pages. And in the first trial, ARCCA testified to a very, so most of this testing with the Randy and the elbow and all of those things was since then.
Yeah,
So
so
in the
that's
first
what
trial,
yeah,
but
so that's
basically
what I thought. They did this
yes,
part secondary. Okay.
but they had built the cannon for the first one, but it wasn't. It was to basically, and this was um, Alan Jackson made a comment ages ago. Basically, no, Karen's Lexus did not hit John, and John was not hit by a vehicle, and that was the essence, I think, of the findings that ARCCA made, independent of everybody. They didn't know Karen or John's name; they just were doing the research, and so I believe that their goal was to determine whether Karen's vehicle hit John and whether John was hit by a vehicle, namely Karen's vehicle. And the glass was just one way to try and work out how that tail light could have been broken if it wasn't because the injuries themselves, or lack of, below
Yeah, I know.
the
And he spoke very specifically about this glass because I was listening to him, and because remember how the prosecution expert was like, well, we went and tried to get a rotten glass from the waterfall to mimic, to be just like the one whatever. So Wolf talked about that, and the thick, because I used to bartend at my mom's friend's bar, the thickness of the bottom of a rock glass. And I'm listening to him like he's, at least he knew to specify that part of a rock glass. And so there was something about that darn rock glass. And I'm like, I was trying to keep track of it all in my head as he's talking, and I'm taking notes. Right. So I do need to go back and review it. But it is interesting that, how Hank tried to throw shade at them by saying, well, you reached out to the defense. And he says, well, yeah, I did after seeing some things on the news or whatever. He saw some things on the news, but I don't guess the defense didn't know that they were working on this stuff for the feds and
No,
vice versa, right?
not until it was in February
Right.
of last
And
year. It was
then,
so close to the trial, the end of
right.
February.
And then, well,
Or
now
no,
they're going to
January.
go after Wolf. It's already out there right now that his wife is a member of the Free Karen Reed group. It's being circulated. Hank kept alluding to that about your wife. Remember when he kept bringing up Wolf's wife? That's because he knows that she's a member of the Free Karen Reed Facebook group. But so
Yes.
what? It's social. This is the new age. Everybody. Dr. Walla from Delphi was communicating with social media personalities. We'll leave it at that. But it happens. I don't know what to tell them. I wish it wouldn't, because then they got something to come at you, even if it's nothing to it, right? And
So
yeah,
Colors is just clarify that. High Colors, by the way. They the DOJ provided the files to both the defense and the Commonwealth.
yeah.
Does anyone in chat know though how things
Well,
eventuated, how they found out, the defense found out that there was this investigation? I think the DOJ contacted both and said, "Hey, we've got these findings." I'm pretty sure
I
that's how
think when they start nosing around and asking questions, it probably becomes obvious. And if they were able to file TUI reports, then they absolutely know about it, because to get federal information from the bureaus, you have to file a TUI report, right?
Yeah.
And
Yes.
a lot of times they can be denied for any reason they feel like giving you, and a lot of times you'll get the preliminary. That's all you're going to get, right?
Yeah.
It's the feds.
What the fuck has joined us on screen? So I have a feeling she probably knows
I
something.
think they started the investigation. In my mind, I'm thinking because somebody reported misconduct to start with, and that got that ball rolling.
So I just want to answer a quick question, and then I'm gonna get off the stage. I just wanted to answer the reason that they found out about the investigation is because the acting district, or the acting head at the time,
Josh Levy.
Josh Levy, yes, he did a dump of the information and said that he could not, in good faith, allow this to move forward. So he put this out there. he said that this case should not go forward. However, Norfolk County decided to continue on. So I just want to put that out there.
Thank
that-
you. Thank
that's how that
you.
went on. Okay, I'm done.
No, thank you. Thank you for that. Yeah. So, however it came about, and I don't think nobody knows what the results of that investigation are. I don't care what Brennan says; they're not gonna, they've not come out and made a formal statement or anything, right? But they don't even have to, I don't think. So,
No, the DOJ basically were like, something's fucking up in Norfolk County. Like something is up, in Norfolk County. This is egregious. This is bad, corrupt, dodgy shit. And so we think that we will give the warning to the prosecution, to the district attorney's office. Hey, there's exculpatory evidence in this. We've
yeah.
got some findings that were excuse me, made completely independent of all's y'all. And like I think who was it said, yes, Micah said, right, for both sides to get the information. Lally told the judge it was not exculpatory. So yeah, it was literally a week or so later that Lally went up before. It was Bev by then, I believe, and said, no, nothing to see here. We're moving forward. We're pressing forward. So,
Well, Bev better watch it, because if the feds are nosing around, I wouldn't want to be making any missteps if I'm the judge in the town that could possibly have bloodstains on her hand. Come on. You
right.
got the feds knocking around out there. Are they in the pocket too, or are they on the up and up? You can never tell, Bev.
No.
So you
And
need
it
to
makes
watch
sense
yourself.
though. Doesn't it make sense though then that everybody's doubling down? So this initial, let's like, for the sake of argument, let's speculate that the McAlberts, that core group, the 34 Fairview, Brian and Nicole Albert, Jennifer McCabe, Matt McCabe. I'm going to put Colin Albert in there too. So Chris and Julie Albert also, and pretty quickly, Kerry Roberts also became one of their puppets. So then Proctor happens to come in also very quickly. So this core group of drunken conspiracy, some bad shit happened, whether he was lured, lying in wait, whatever happened in the house. Very quickly. So then you've got Lank coming in, who's a lifelong friend of the Alberts, a townie like the rest of them. And then as it grows and grows and grows, people who are drawn in by way of that very sort of insular small community within Norfolk County, and the law enforcers, lol, and the justice keepers, also lol. You can see how when Bev, the motion to recuse for Bev because of her links, very obvious links to Juliana Nagel, and by way of her house on the Cape, and letting that out, that and then if Meatball Morrissey, there's some, you can see how that conspiracy grew and grew and grew, sort of organically but also understandably, where and now they've all got so much invested in what started out to be just like a tragic bullshit turn of events, is now this worldwide web that people can't conceive of. But when I think when you put it like that, I didn't put it very articulately, you can see that yeah, if all these people know each other forever and ever and ever. It grew organically. And
Oh yeah, it definitely did.
And it's very conceivable, right? And now, like you say, Bev, Bev was supposed to be in the civil rotation of sitting on the bench. She was supposed to not be in criminal anymore. In Massachusetts, they have a system where they have a set period of time presiding over criminal court cases, and then the judges have a set period of time presiding over civil, and it rotates. And she got special consideration to stay in the criminal cycle to be able to preside over this, like wild. So she bought into it. So there's got to be something more there.
Well,
So,
if you so the what makes it worse, even like them all knowing one another, right? That connection, that organic getting in on it, the law enforcement aspect of it. You can't ignore it, right? And then if you look
Mhm.
at what's already been looked into in that state, into the Massachusetts State Police, already 2 separate federal, and not counting this one, other investigations over other things, other scandals in that department. You have to know that a lot of times in these areas, say like if there's a mob element, okay, in the deep south there's a different type of element. There may be that type of element. You want cops in the pocket, right? You need them. You got one from every damn department in town here. You got judges that get involved and get payoffs. You get, and I'm not saying that's happening here, it's theorizing, but it happens. And I covered some of this. One day we had a surprise early day or something happened in Karen Reed, but we were looking at corruption like that. Looked at stuff in New Orleans, out of Los Angeles. There's a lot of cases you can look at over the time. And it was crazy because in the New Orleans cases, it was drug dealers that bought the cops. Right.
Right.
And
Money
then there's
talks, huh? Money
yeah,
talks.
exactly. And they were guarding the damn warehouse where all the drugs were being stored. You know, and this one cop, he just starts, you start recruiting other officers, and money does talk, especially when they got mouths to feed, and then they're getting paid a lot more from that dealer to guard that warehouse than they are to patrol the streets. It's insane how it can happen, you know. So for us to say it doesn't happen, and I don't want to believe it's like that in every case and it's all the way around, you know, the globe, but it happens. You can't say it doesn't. I don't know if the defense has, through cross-examination of the state's witnesses, have really been able to drive that home enough, just out of Jen McCabe, you know, and Carrie, and talking about the connections. And I just don't know if they need a little bit more to back that up with their closing argument, but I don't know what the closing arguments are going to be about, right? I don't know what their angle will be at closing argument. If they're going to go with not enough evidence to convince you beyond reasonable doubt this vehicle caused this, look what our experts are telling you. Far more believable than these weirdos over here that the other guys got, you know. They could say it like that, but that's me. They're going to say it way more professional coming from them.
Right. I think, I mean, at the very least, any one of, I mean, it could be Liza, but any one of Alessi, Yannetti, or Alan Jackson. And I have a feeling it might be Alessi, but perhaps Jackson will do the closing as well. They're all three of those gentlemen are fantastic orators. They're very good speakers, very impactful, articulate. They know the drill. Bev will limit them to an hour of closing arguments, which is wild after an 8 or whatever it's going to be, probably 8, 9, almost 9-week trial of witnesses. Considering that the Monica Cementelli trial, which ran for about the same amount of time, the defense, the prosecution closed for 2.5 days. It was epic. So imagine having to they'll have to be, I mean, they will have been writing their, whoever it is will have been writing their closing arguments to whittle it down to the absolute core, and it will be delivered with impeccable sort of finesse and panache. And I think they're probably going to hammer home reasonable doubt. That's the most important thing. That was the biggest glaring omission.
Well,
Because I think,
look at Lucky's testimony, right? The snowplow driver didn't see anything, nobody in the snow,
No.
you know. And I know they tried to, meaning the prosecution, did what he could to tear Lucky down. I think poor Lucky, man, looks like he took a beating in social media and on the witness stand. You know,
well,
I
no,
feel like,
no, actually, you know what? Lucky, like, that's Hank spinning fucking bullshit, mate. So the way it actually went,
I saw some pretty disturbing video of some pretty disturbing things being said about Lucky, and I was like, damn, I wish I hadn't seen that. And I
so
was like,
those
man,
are yeah, the antis going hard, but the people who actually matter, there was no harassing from Turtle Boy, none. Everybody loves Lucky.
well, it was
Lucky
his
was
video that I saw. Yeah, it wasn't good. I'm not throwing shade at the turtle boy. Don't get me wrong. I saw the video. I saw what he was saying, and it was after the last trial or during it. I'm not even sure when it occurred. It wasn't good, but I also saw all the good things he tweeted about him because I went and looked, and I was like, see, that's when things started getting messy. Trial 1, where I bailed out. Because at that point it was like I don't even want to look. It was like a train wreck almost happening before my eyes, and I was going deeper into Delphi, so I just totally bailed on Karen Reed.
So
But
I
now
think that
I was like, but I believe Lucky though. I don't have a reason. I don't feel like Turtle Boy cussing him out on the video was what caused Lucky to go up there and say what he said. I believe Lucky, and he testified to that at the first trial, right? That he didn't see anything.
correct.
So I don't
So,
even
but
understand why anybody would go after Lucky to start with. I don't even know the backstory. I'm confused.
so that would have. I mean, it was actually Aiden who spoke to Lucky before anybody. And went and talked to him. And I think Lucky probably, I mean, I'm just going to speculate here. I have a feeling he didn't want to be involved because he's a very simple, salt of the earth person with lifelong connections to the Alberts.
Well,
But
he
I
said he
think that
didn't.
Aiden,
Turtle Boy posted their screenshot of their message just the other day. After
didn't
Lucky
what?
testified, Turtle Boy on X posted a screenshot of his text with Lucky, right? Like right when he reached out to him, I guess, about, hey, can I talk to you? And Lucky's like, I really don't want to talk, or what. And that's like not verbatim, don't get me wrong. But that's
Yes,
what
yes,
it was.
yes.
That's all it was to it. It wasn't like anything doxing or mean or
No,
anything.
no.
It was just showing that Lucky's like, I don't want to be involved.
Yes. So Opal Gypsy says Turtle Boy did do some bad stuff on Lucky, but did back it up with great stuff to walk it back. So that's
Yeah,
the thing.
I think that's
Context
what
matters.
yeah,
So
that's the take I
so
get.
so at the end of the day, the bad during and after the trial, and even before the first trial, the bad stuff that was said about Lucky came from the paid McAlbert trolls. Um, Lucky was revered as and was anticipated as being the hero, the truthful, honest hero that was going to come in and testify to what he knew reluctantly, like but would. And that's what happened. Like that people, like literally on that day of trial, of all of the days of the first trial, that was the day where you could feel the worldwide pride and emotion. Like it was explosive how positive people were about Lucky. People did get on their sort of virtue signaling and wanting to donate money to Lucky, and he didn't want to have a bar of that. He didn't want to be in the spotlight, which is basically what he testified
I
to
didn't
the
know
other day.
anything except the snow. All I knew was this guy that was the snowplow driver, never saw a body. And that's all I knew. I never knew anything was said about the guy either way until like this week. I was like, well, okay. I didn't even know last time or that things were being said, but I knew that social it was getting out of hand. That's all. But yeah, I didn't know any of that was going on until this week. I was like, oh man, that
Yes.
sucks for Lucky.
Well, yes. So he basically just didn't want any spotlight. He didn't want positive or negative, and it was
Yeah.
overwhelmingly positive. And I think Chad is making some good points. Sorry, I've got a fly in here. Chad is making some good points that I have a feeling that knowing Aiden's style and knowing that Aiden knew about those towny connections, that he probably did put some heavy words onto Lucky in his own Aiden way to say, like, get the fuck out of here, man. You know what? You know there was nobody out there. Do the right thing. Oof, there's that quote. Do the right thing, the actual right thing. And perhaps there are a lot of people who don't like Aiden's methods and his style of going about things. He can be really sort of abrasive. I love his bombastic style, but it's not for everybody. And so, but once Lucky came around and spoke to the defense investigator and spoke to the feds, there was only ever love. Like I've never heard Aiden say a bad word about Lucky during or since the first trial. I didn't start watching Turtle Boy until about was when they mentioned him in the first trial in court, and I was like, oh fuck, okay, I'll stop believing the tropes of Turtle Boy being a deranged sort of harasser of witnesses,
Right.
and went and got on board. So it's interesting. Yeah, I mean, I can see how he might have been going a bit hard at Lucky to try and encourage him to talk to the people that needed to be talked to. So but yeah, nobody wants anything bad from Lucky, bad for Lucky at all. I mean, and the aunties are so vile about him still. Disgusting. Anyway, I'll stop talking. People don't want to hear my
Yeah, I
opinions. They want to
mean,
hear yours.
it's yeah, I mean, it's I didn't know any of that when Lucky was testifying, right? So it didn't, and none of it affected the way I felt about his testimony. I didn't feel like there was anything not to believe. I felt like this guy had a really good view of the street. He knew the streets well. He knew that home well. Um, I I know he said he saw a car out there, and that they asked him, could that have been on Cedar Crest? I was like, or wasn't that the road they claimed he mixed it up with? I was like, okay, that don't make any sense. But I believed Lucky. I didn't have any reason to disbelieve him. Even when they're like, well, you hit the basketball goal, so you couldn't have seen it. He's like, oh no, I saw it. He's like, I just misjudged it like that, And I thought, well, there you go. That's not made up. That's a very real answer right there, in my opinion. It didn't take him a second to answer that question. But I just felt like, Lucky, I believed him. He didn't see anything out there. But you know what? He had a lot more lighting and all the things, and I get more snow had fallen. But shit, we got a whole house full of people coming and going, looking out windows and doors, and nobody saw that guy. I mean, John O'Keefe disappeared when Kevin, my son is Kevin, and I'm looking at his flight. He's on his flight home right now. And I looked up at the computer tracking his flight, and I said his name. Anyway, my baby's on my mind. He'll be
Oh,
home soon. Anyway,
good.
so yeah, that got me sidetracked, but yeah, I forgot what I
Right.
was
So
saying.
how did you feel about the way in which Hank Brennan kind of went after Lucky on the cross?
That guy, I mean, come on, man, you make yourself look like a total ass. Because you're coming at people in a way like they're not smart, they don't know what they're talking about, they are not getting, like, look at you and all. And the judge, the way she would say things to Hank, and then she would just start, her voice would fade away, and I couldn't hear her anymore. It's like, lady, finish your sentence. What's this man got on you? Is he the prosecutor on the take in this little web of weirdos? I mean, my mind can go there if it needs to. Like, I don't get it. Um, I don't know why does he think he's scoring points with the jury by coming off as that, I'm going to show them this guy's lying kind of at it. Does he think that's what he's achieving? Because it's the opposite of that, right? He shouldn't be like that. I think if you go at him better, a different way, you might get a better result, but he's just nasty about it. It's like
Yeah.
not
So
cool, right?
it's rubbing you the wrong way.
Yeah, it's just each time I'm like I'm sitting here listening to it, and as he's questioning and the way he's um saying things, I'm like, what? I just catch myself going, what? Or wanting to yell objection, and the judge is just irritating me because she's letting these things go. Even a couple of times, the defense objected, and she gave him what they asked for, and he still, or she would say, she asked him to say it differently or something, or told him not to do it again, but he did it. He just ignored her and kept talking, and she sat there and didn't do anything about it. And I was floored by that. I was like, wait a minute. Did I just witness what I thought I witnessed? She literally told Hank no, but Hank ignored her and kept right on talking. And she sat there and swiveled in her stupid chair. That annoyed me to no end. And I hope that the jury notices those types of things, because that's going to make them wonder why. Why are you being that way? What is there to this that you don't want us to put together? It makes her look
Right.
biased. I don't know how to, because the way the judge handles their courtroom absolutely matters. The jurors need to believe in that judge, that you're going to protect me, and you're going to take care of me, and you're going to make sure I'm getting the time I need, like breaks and lunch and blah, blah, blah. And we have our accommodations met, and that we're comfortable in this courtroom, all the things. And she's in there running it like it's just a wild ass daycare. Like a wild, wild
It's
west of the
so
courtrooms. You know what I mean?
it's so off the charts, isn't it? As somebody who, I mean, I presume these jurors, all, if not most of them, aren't trial watchers. I presume they probably wouldn't have been. They would have been weeded out through the voir dire selection process. But as someone who watches trials and has done for a long time, it's off the rails. Like, and to hear law tubers who've spent a lot of, their whole, 25, 20
Yeah.
years in courtrooms saying the same thing, like they have never seen these kind of exchanges, and I've never seen them. And it's not just one or two. It's like Hank Brennan is just busting out the bullshit time after time after time after time with no repercussions. Crazy.
No, it is crazy. And I've seen a lot of high profile trials, in the past. And the way this is going with this judge, I think it's the first time really in a high profile case that we've seen a judge act this way to this extent, right? As far as being all prosecution or pro prosecution, however you want to put it. A lot of times they like to, they just expect defense attorneys to come in there with, and they expect them to do what defense attorneys do. But there are times they need to do what they're doing, and there's nothing a judge can do about it if they got a good argument and got what they need. But the way she runs things is very bizarre, like allowing things to be dealt with as they come up. Nothing's anticipated. What does she think a pretrial conference is for? She needs to take a page out of Judge Hippler's handbook on how to run your courtroom. He's been setting rules. He started setting rules for his upcoming trial 3 months in advance. He's not playing. She's over here, well, we'll just deal with it as it comes up. You don't like it? Okay, we'll deal with it as it comes up. Even though y'all should know all this by now. It's like, how
It's
long?
interesting.
This is y'all's second trial, right? Y'all don't know none of this was coming. Okay, well, please.
Right. It's that, even that in itself as well. The interesting thing about Bev is that her appellate record, she's had any of her overturns, on appeal have been because she was too heavily favoring the defendant and the defense. Like that's my understanding. So it's interesting, and that goes back to that weird
it's
suspicion
crazy
that there's more to it.
Did that jade her? And now she's like, oh, that'll never happen again. What the hell, lady?
Well,
She took it to
that's why.
extremes, and she decided to go the other way now and not be so favorable for defenses. She went to the extreme on this one. And it doesn't
Possibly,
look
yeah.
right.
I mean, that could be it. You're right. That could be it. I mean, I feel like there's a little bit more to it. It feels personal to Bev, particularly because I think she quite clearly doesn't like
Is it
Hank Brennan as a
almost like she
person.
believes? Okay, I'm sorry, my coffee. Is it like she believes in her criminal justice system and her law enforcement agencies so much she cannot believe they could be involved in corruption? Or is she a part of the damn corruption? I mean, and it is what it is. And they're all just
Yeah.
praying nobody finds out. Kind of like over there in Indiana. Let's just pray nobody finds out. And if
Well,
nobody
exactly.
shows if nobody causes enough noise, it'll go away eventually, right?
Right.
I don't
Right.
know.
I mean, luckily, Judge Gull made sure that the world couldn't see what we can see on, on our big
I know, thank
screens
God.
every day.
And even if that's with that being said, as long as these judges are ruling within the laws of their state and they're getting it in there just by the seat of their pants, that's all that matters. As far as appeal goes, right? So I don't know if these are like standard rulings in her state that they just got that are crazy, like Indiana, or if she's really pushing the envelope here with some of this stuff. Is it really going to come back to bite her in the butt later, like it should? Because she's very like I said, I tried to be fair with this judge, right? Like, why is there? I even questioned it. I said, "What is everybody's problem with this judge? Is it that she not granting motions? Is she not granting hearings on the motions? Is she making ridiculous rulings? And what's happening here? Why do we don't like her? You know?" And so I gave her a fair shot, but she's not. I don't know much about their laws in that state, but I know a lot about the law in courtrooms in general, right? And there's things I've seen go down here I'm not used to seeing in normal courtrooms. So it's baffling in a way that I don't know, but it doesn't look. It looks weird that she allows Hank to get away with so much. And I'm not just saying that because everybody's like points that out. I see it with my own. I've only been streaming the trial every day, right? And I see it, and I'm floored by some of the things that comes out of that guy's mouth when I see the defense trying to be nice about the way they're going about things, even when they're pressing the witnesses, right? They're
Well,
not
they're
trying to
civil,
come.
aren't they? They're being
Yeah,
civil.
yeah,
They're
they're
being.
not. Yes, they're not coming across as assholes, in my opinion.
I mean, that's very strategic also. I mean, Alan
Oh
Jackson
yes,
early
definitely.
on, Alan Jackson early on did come, and Yannetti also came in a little hot on a couple of their cross examinations in the first week or so. But I mean, it's been a long time, and there has been very little of that since. Even Alessi, you know, cross examining Burgess, did it so kindly. You know, he just dismantled Burgess quite kindly. There was no snark. There was no condescension. I mean, a little tiny bit, but look what Burgess gave him on a platter.
Yeah.
So I think the jury. So did you feel in the beginning, perhaps like what I just said, that defense was maybe a little hot on some things and they've smoothed out a bit, or no?
No, well, no. I felt like I expect defense teams to come at these witnesses in all the cases pretty good. You know what I mean? Give them a run for their money, put them to the test. I expect it. Sometimes they nail it, and sometimes they're very bad at it, right? Sometimes they come across as assholes themselves and very condescending and all the things. I just got the impression that from these defense attorneys, they knew the person up there was lying, and they were going to show me this person was lying, right?
Right.
And
Good.
so
Yes. So that
that
could
I
turn you
felt
off.
like they didn't put any more pressure on those witnesses, not near what the prosecutor's doing and
Right.
getting
So
away
yeah.
with.
So yes. Okay. Yeah. The contrast is startling, isn't it?
Yeah,
So
it really is.
yeah. Wow. I wonder. Does chat have any questions for Salty as 13th juror? As a fresh set of eyes. Anything you would like to know Salty's opinion on? Because I mean,
Oh, and you know
there's
what else? Sorry.
yeah. What?
Yeah,
No,
if
you
y'all have
go.
any questions, yes, please. The dog bite, the ER physician. Right. I mean, you and I both throwing our hands up at the same fucking time because we are almost the same person. I love this lady, guys. She makes me crack up when I'm watching her show. Some of the shit that just flies out of her mouth. I'm like, she's saying what I'm thinking. It's amazing. I love it.
Why am I
But
like this? Why are we like this,
yeah, I
Salty?
know, I know. We think the same weird shit. I mean, it is what it is. But yeah, so I found her, and even though, you know, they tried to point out, well, she reached out as well and blah blah blah. Well, so what if these people did reach out? I don't care, because if they're experts in their field and know what they're talking about and have something to offer, and you don't know about them, then why not? I don't have a problem with it because both sides are going to present an expert that are paid regardless. I don't even want to discuss all that stuff anymore
No,
because
it's a moot
both
point, really, isn't
sides,
it?
you're
Like,
right?
that's how it
It's
goes.
like exactly. It is what it is. What matters is when they get on that witness stand and how believable they are with their science and their methodology and their interpretation of things. So back to the dog bite expert. I found her to be pretty credible. I found her to know what she was talking about. I found the way her explanation for things could be very reasonable, right? Doesn't mean that convinced me a dog did all that versus the taillight, but I'm leaning more toward the dog than the taillight based on what she has said, based on the way his clothes look would lean more toward the dog than the tail light. Watching the two tests that were conducted, I'm still going to lean more toward maybe a dog versus that tail light. There's just a lot that stacks up, you know, with some. I'm really interested to hear from the ARCCA Rechler, is that his
Yes.
name? Because
Rentschler,
if
yes.
he's gonna, so I'm gonna try to match what he's telling me or going to tell me up with what the ER physician Russell told me, right? What her thoughts were, along with this guy's thoughts, along with the ME's thoughts, because that ME didn't say what killed John O'Keefe. She didn't say a car hit him. She didn't say hypothermia killed him. I heard what that lady said with my own ears and took notes of everything she said, right? So I'm trying to put all that together because nobody can even tell me what time this man died, what time he got placed in that snow, how long he'd been out there yet. They're speculating. They're all speculating, right? So I'm down to what these injuries are going to show me. And right now,
Yes.
the injuries don't match up with Carr, right? They just don't. Even you can't even convince me the back of that. You're far from convincing me the back of his head was injured from the cold, hard, frozen ground. I'm going.
You mean the
with
frozen grass?
I'm going with that floor in the house. That even sounds better all the way around. Just all the way around.
Now we got a couple of questions. News Storm asked, Salty, what was the most noticeable testimony for you this week? So this week, what stood out to you the most? What was the most impactful for you? We had the guy reading in the text,
Dr.
Doctor's
Russell,
friend.
because I expected
Ah,
ARCCA to bring it with testing, and I kind of, I've been around for a long time, and I know who brought seatbelts into our world and why, and I've seen all kind of crash test, dummy test over the years, so I had an idea of what they would probably be able to show. So I was very impressed with them, but I wanted to hear from her, finally, somebody on what could have caused this other than the taillight stuff they tried to get me to buy. The lacerations, the cut, how deep they were, but here's the thing. Because I've raised pit bulls, right? And the one we had was a male that was as big as yours. He was beautiful. He was stocky. He was gorgeous. He was ornery.
best dogs.
I loved my female girl. I did not really care for the males. I told my husband if he ever gets sideways, he's gone. We have little kids. The dog got sideways one time over this big bone. He didn't listen to me. So time goes by. The dog goes after our female, who was getting old by this time. And my husband didn't like that. You don't attack the female dog. That was the end of story. He goes to get onto the male dog. The male dog attacks him. He gets him in the thigh. But a pit bull and a German Shepherd that's been allegedly trained in some training, I guess, went on there. Very different dog bites, especially a dog in training that's going to go with the front teeth versus a total all-on bite and a latch lock-on without puncturing and all the things. A pit bull lock-on bite's totally different. Getting that dog off is hard. By the time you do, you got a big gaping wound. Drunk Turkey got attacked by his dog recently, an American bulldog. Big hole in his arm. She got an artery. Or he got an artery, right? It was very bad.
Wow.
So they can do a full-on bite. What we're seeing is not a full-on bite. I never thought it was. It's not. It looks like what Dr. Russell described, right? How even the paws could have been causing, if that dog was pawing at John, because he's fighting with that owner. If I'm telling you, if somebody walks into your home and goes after you, Lisa, that dog is going to do what it was it is going to do its job and protect you, right?
Yep.
And it's probably going to tear somebody up because it is a bulldog, but at least it's
They
going to
tear me up
paw.
accidentally. Yeah, when they're
Exactly.
coming at me at the start of my streams,
Girl, I
and they're
have
just being
scars, right?
enthusiastic. Yes.
Yeah. You can't help
Quite
it. You
often.
get scarred. They want to paw. They paw at their whatever they're going after to begin with. And so, but if you got men in between the dog and the man, right? They're blocking this dog from taking a full-on bite at this man, or we would see a different type of wound. But the pawing in him absolutely could see that. you know. I heard one guy talk about on a pretty decent show about how the possibility of the raccoons causing that, right? The paw marks. So I was like, the raccoons in that area. So I went and looked at the map, and sure enough, there's a whole bunch of woods back there with a creek between them and that airport. And I was like, oh, well, yeah, it's a possibility some raccoons could have been out there prowling around, and maybe, but I'm still going with possibly the dog doing that, right? Versus if
Right.
it's an animal. And then if you go to the pig DNA, did the dog transfer the pig DNA there?
Pig's ears, babe. 100%.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
100%. Hey, Kirby just said a super chat. Kirby didn't need to do that, but thank you so much to ask. And this is kind of in lieu. Kirby, you're in the draw for a Miss Shorty merch t-shirt when we do the raffle next. But Kirby asks, I was going to ask if Dr. Russell's description of the grief response had an impact on what you thought of the video clips of Karen. So salty. Did that was that
Yes.
impactful for you?
Yes. Because I already have a really good grasp on grief,
Yes.
right? I have had a long journey with grief.
Mhm.
I can tell you without a doubt from experience, when you lose a loved one that first year,
Mhm.
there's a lot of things you're not willing. There's a lot of things you're going to say. You're probably not going to remember
Mm-mm.
for a while, right? There's things, there's a lot happening that first year, a lot. And if you're charged with something along with it, that I can only imagine. But it's just in general, just in general, that all that, it's, yeah. Yeah, I
And you can
mean,
like
I
because
get it.
you were there last week when we watched the first few parts of The Body in the Snow, and we're doing the rest after we have our chat.
Yes.
The two episodes, but you can tell when Karen's recounting, and I think I commented on it last week. I didn't do too much interrupting, but when Karen was recounting the story of John, she has her hand on her face, and you can tell she's back in the moment, and that was so genuine. And she wasn't like screaming and I hit him, or did I hit him, could I have hit him? But you can feel emotion, and I think we can feel her when she's even recounting those in those little clips, the variety show.
Yes, so much is
You can
happening in the
feel it.
beginning. A lot's going on, a lot's
Mhm.
happening. Not only are you being told your loved one's gone and you're trying to grasp that, then all this other stuff is happening as well, happening at the same
Mhm.
time. But right before they were even looking at her in any kind of way, she was having to me, a super trauma response. You know what I mean? And
Mm.
you can
Mm.
look at trauma very differently. I am the opposite. I'm the hysterical woman bothers me because I can't think if she's doing all that. It's like, calm down a minute. Because
Mhm.
and I don't know, I can't explain it. I've tried to explain it, but I can, for some reason, I can focus on what has to be done in the damn moment, and I'll break down later. I had to do
Yep.
that when I had my preemie. He was 3 months early. Everybody's like, oh my God, how did you get through it? I don't know. I cannot tell you. I didn't have time to break down. I didn't until he
Mm.
was better 3 years later.
Mhm.
Then it was like, whoa, what the hell did I just do? Right? Same thing when you lose a loved one. It's the same type of experience. That trauma response is very real, very much there.
Mhm.
And I give Karen Reed that, right? You know what I mean? I let her have that because I understand it.
Yep.
If I would, I'm sure her defense, if they had their way, they secretly wish she had never done any of those interviews, but it is what it is. Get on top of
Mhm.
it, own it is all you can do. But then again, just like the damn messages with Higgins, there was nothing in there that said, I'm better off with that man dead. I wished he was dead. I wished he would die. None of that. There was none of that happening. So they failed to
No.
show any kind of intent in my mind either. Even if they got into a damn argument when they pulled up in front of the house and she realized that Jeep was there and said, I don't want to go in there. That freak Higgins is in there. And John's like, well, screw you then. I'm going in anyway. And he gets out and slams the door. Does he walk away and chunk his rock glass at her car?
Mhm.
And she's like, huh. And she hauls ass and drives away.
I mean, could
I could
be.
see that happening. Totally see that happening. Him getting mad enough
Okay.
to throw the rock glass at her, fucking bitch. You know,
Yep.
not throwing
Yep.
shade at John O'Keefe. I'm totally not.
Well, it's okay.
It is
We
what it
do.
is. It is what
We
it
do.
is.
Not a
I
nice
call it.
guy.
I don't know. Not with him and Karen. They had a toxic relationship. It is
Mhm.
what it is.
Yeah. No,
I could
that
totally
yeah.
see it.
So that actually leads in nicely to the trial channel had a question for you for Salty. How do you
Okay.
feel about the Commonwealth's theory? Are you following it? Or do you feel like they have is it clear for you? Is there clarity in what their theory of
No.
the
Well,
case is?
so if I'm not mistaken, their theory is this woman was so mad at this man and had it in for him and was the jealous, raging
That's hope.
type that
Yep.
they argued at some point between the bar and the house. She got mad enough and just hauled ass and backed up over him and took off. That's their theory. And they tried to tell me
Yeah.
all that by showing me these videos and these text messages, but no, I don't understand their theory. I would have understood their theory better if they would have said, this woman dropped him off. She backed into him unknowingly and drove away. It was an accident. I would be like, oh, well, that makes sense. I could see that could happen unless something come out to show us otherwise later, unless she's like, whoa, I don't, yeah, it could have been whatever. But that's not what happened here, and they
What
go to
about
a grand jury. So I figured out how they got to murder because I kept going, how they get to murder? That's insane to me. How did they ever get there? So then I realized through all this testimony that it was the grand jury. You had witnesses go and testify that this
lying
woman was
at the
yelling,
grand jury?
exactly, lying to the grand jury, saying she unequivocally stated she ran him over. Boom, end of story. We got a busted tail light, 50 pieces scattered across the yard. Yeah, there you go. She
Mm.
ran him over on purpose. And then to back
But
that up, we're going to show you how she flirted with Higgins. And that shows you
right.
right there. And argued with John the day of. I felt like
Yeah.
John was being an asshole that day, throwing shade at the plumber when she needed the damn plumber to come over.
Have you felt as the case, like as this trial has gone on, have you felt that it's been blurry, shifting, like they haven't I don't want to put words in
Shifting
your mouth.
like the
It does,
clocks.
yes, well, there's been some theory drift, right? Like the Commonwealth have shifted things and changed things, and like one minute John's hoodie is got holes in it from the taillight, the next minute, what about the bushes? There's bushes there. Did you know that? Has that been impactful for you, Salty? Those
Yeah.
kind of ambiguities and changes?
I'm like, well, we'll stick to what you don't point out something until the defense points out something, and you want to come out and say something different about it. Like if you had all that to begin with, it's like, yeah, it doesn't. They're okay. Their theory's not cohesive enough, right? And they do seem to change it to suit their needs and their experts. I kind of hope that I wish the defense had a good data expert they were going to bring on to close out with to show more about what that 80 feet that places him at the front door, if not at least inside that home. Things like that. I'm not saying they need to prove anything, but it would help reasonable doubt. I feel like the prosecution gave their own data reasonable doubt at times, right? So I don't know if the
Mhm.
defense really needs to, if the jury got that or not, but does the defense need to kind of drive that home? I don't know if that matters or not. I feel like data is becoming so damn important anymore, right? And
Mm.
if they're gonna, because within I just went through it the other day in my notes. They're here at this certain time and the car's doing this. And now we're at 5% accuracy. Now we're at 10% accuracy. Now we're back up to 15%. I'm like, dude, you don't got a clue what's going on there. Every 2 seconds, your accuracy is changing. And now we got new testimony from the black box finder SD card guy that damaged it in removal, Burgess. Whoa, lo and behold, I found this SD card that nobody else could find. And now they got the missing data that tells them bullshit on yours end with, and this is what we got now. No, none of that makes sense to me. And I hope the jury can put that part together, because especially with their notes, because if they look at their notes, they'll see it, right?
Mm.
They'll see that discrepancy there. And who do you believe, Within or Salt Shaker Lady? What was her name? Or do you know?
Jessica Hyde.
Yeah, there you go. Hyde. That's her. Who was it? Somebody in the chat. One of our, I think it's someone in our mutual chat community there called her Salt Shaker, said they remind her of a salt shaker, and that stuck out to me. I don't know why did I call her Salt Shaker Lady now, but you knew who I was talking about.
I did.
There's just a
I
lot,
did.
there's a lot, girl, that I thought, I didn't know how they were going to prove she did this to begin with, especially murder, but yeah, they're not there with me. If I'm the
Right.
juror at this point, right? If it ended tomorrow and we heard closing arguments based on what we know now, and the defense drives home that reasonable doubt, and I walk into that juror room, I'm going to have to vote no, not guilty, because they did not prove beyond a reasonable doubt he was hit by a car. And they failed miserably to prove that she intended to murder this man.
Right.
And you couple
Now,
that with the other, I just,
so we're speculating. It seems from Karen's mouth herself, but it seems that there's only. Well, I think we're probably looking at Rentschler, obviously the other ARCCA guy, and then perhaps their medical examiner. I feel like she's going to be in, but let's assume that they're the only two witnesses left to call, right? So Dave's channel, hi. He's wishing, and it's not going to happen, but that's okay. He's wishing to see testimony from Colin Albert. So let's assume that you had. I'm going to give you 3, not including Rentschler and their medical examiner. If you could see from the defense case in chief 3 witnesses that you haven't heard from, who would they be and why?
Higgins.
Mm-hmm.
Because I need him to come talk to me a little bit more. I just do. I need to know I need to know where you parked that night and what time you left that house. And I need to ask more questions about his phone. Kind of really drive home just reasonable doubt with this guy, right? You come out here with a lot was said about Karen Reed because of him. Negative things were said about Karen Reed because of Higgins. Jim McCabe saw, and I hope the jury remembers you have 2 witnesses at the same time seeing 2 different things out front. And by that, I mean Jim McCabe and Nagel. Because when he pulls up behind Karen Reed, there's no Jeep. There's nothing between them, between Ricky and Nagel. But McCabe says when she looks out and she sees Karen, she sees that Jeep. Okay. And then they pulled in right behind Karen from Cedar Crest. Ricky flashes lights, go. That's when John disappeared, by the way, right there. The girl in the back seat, Heather, saw 2 people in the SUV, a man and a woman, Karen and John. They turn onto Cedar Crest. Ricky, right? He poofs right there. He's gone. Ricky falls in behind. Nobody sees John O'Keefe from that point on. Nobody. And then when they pass him, the prosecution wanted to be like, well, the dome light on, off situation. They said they didn't see anybody in that vehicle but Karen Reed. They didn't see anybody outside the vehicle. Nobody, and the only thing I could think of, like I'm thinking in my mind, well, how did this go down? Are they saying that they pull up, Jen sees her outside? I don't know if whatever. Nagel pulls in behind. His sister comes out. They talk. She goes back in. She's got a ride home. He leaves. They don't see him, but he's really in there. Then once they drive away, that's when she gets out. That's when she runs him over because they don't see him. Then Jen still doesn't see him. Her husband doesn't see nothing. Nobody sees anything ever. Lucky
Suspicious,
comes in the middle of the night. He doesn't see anything with his big plow and all of his lights. Where's
right?
this man at? You know, where did he get knocked out at the front door upon entry?
Well,
Did he
Collins
see?
has a
Did
feeling it
he
was in
go
the
in?
garage,
So
so
look, if what then I'm thinking, well, what could have caused that so quickly? What Higgins at the bar? Go back to the bar now. Are we taunting at the bar? Is that really what's happening at that bar? Taunting? Then we get to the house. Karen sees that stupid Jeep. I'm not going in that house. That fool's in there. You already know about what's going on, John. I'm not going in there. No, let's go home. John's like, no, I'm going in there. Fuck that. He gets out.
mm,
Does
mhm,
he throw the rock
that's
glass at the vehicle because he's pissed? Does he take his ass on up to that front door and when it opens, it's on with Higgins?
yeah. I don't know about the glass because the glass was found
I don't
underneath
either. I'm just saying.
underneath.
I just for
Yes, yes,
dramatics, it's there. He's like,
yes, yes,
boom.
yes, yes, yes,
Yeah. Okay.
yes.
So I don't know, and that would
So
explain the weird piece of glass hanging out on the tailgate. But that's what I would say if I was
no, it didn't
convinced.
match anything. That
It
didn't
didn't
match
match
anything. That
anything.
was
Exactly. You got that
only
too,
one
right?
other piece
You
that Proctor found on the street, but but
right.
it didn't match the glass. So the rocks
Right.
glass.
And you got pieces of the red lens that doesn't match up to the other parts that were given to them for them to examine. There's a lot, you know, a lot of stuff, even down to and you incorporate the theory that something in that house occurred. It, it can it makes sense. It's reasonable doubt.
Hmm. Now, we're starting to run out of time, and I'm sorry to limit us, but I always like
No,
to bite
yeah.
off more than I can chew with live streaming as much as I can. So, um, our friend, the Trial Channel, amazing stuff, said, I have another question. Thoughts on the 24 mile per hour test that shattered the taillight? Is it convincing? Wait, and she's got a follow up. I mean, convincing that it aligns with what the Commonwealth says happened.
Well, if you look at the video, like I said, Dolphin and I noticed that it did break, right? But
Mm.
it broke into two. I think maybe a few small pieces fell, but two very large pieces came off. They just two large pieces. Nothing shattered and went or it was like that. Because I wanted to go back and watch that piece again. But it's still that's the part that starts to make you go, could it have happened, right? But you take into account that it apparently shattered into all these pieces upon impact and that they went everywhere, but nobody saw any that night.
On the grass,
On
mind you,
that
not
night,
on the road.
exactly. And what I was about to say, and with all the lights that night, that came and went, nothing was reflecting, right? No red was reflecting from the ground. That certain light hits it, it's going to reflect here and there. That light will bounce. When first responders were out there and lights were happening, there was nothing reflecting off that white little dusty snow that was on the ground, I mean, nothing. And then weeks go by and they want me to believe the snow melt caused them to find more and more pieces. In the
Hmm.
circumstances they found the
Bigger
pieces
and
under
bigger,
was questionable.
bigger and bigger,
Yeah, it's just
bigger and bigger
questionable. Everything
pieces.
was questionable with the way they found all those random pieces over that period of time and how they tried to
I'm
explain it.
And one thing, Coco, I think it was NH dude Steve who's going to be at court on Monday. I have a feeling that was who said in the last chat. So that now also we might finish on this one. New Storm asks Salty thoughts on Barros's testimony. Sergeant Nick Barros. Storm and many of us have been personally waiting over a year for him to explain what he saw. How did you feel about lovely Sergeant Barros? Gee, I'm trying to influence you.
um, he was the one from the Dighton, right?
Yes.
Yes, I
Cracked,
thought
but not
he was
completely broken.
he felt so genuine,
Good.
right? He didn't have any reason for me to believe that he wasn't being honest about what he saw, and it made sense what he saw. And I didn't have any reason to believe that he saw differently or was told to say differently, pressured in any kind of way. I think that's what he saw, you know? So that goes back to the reasonable doubt with the other things that add to the reasonable doubt, right? If he
The
didn't see a
buffet.
taillight
Yes.
at that point, you know, the crack, or, you know, the little piece missing or whatever, you know, did they take advantage of that back at the Sally port when they decided to bust it into a million little pieces, and, you know, so
Yes.
they're like,
Okay.
and then what they do? Do they collect all these little pieces up in a bag and just go scatter like salt here and yonder when it was
Taillight
found there?
fairy. Sprinkle
Yeah,
that shit around.
yeah.
Yes.
Go throw it. Hey, the chief's gonna ride by in a minute. Did he throw that piece out there himself as he rides by, flicked it out the window, and then it's like, oh look, I saw a piece out. Higgins, I saw a piece of reflected light out the window. That's bullshit. The chief of the old chief, the trauma buddy to Higgins, happens to ride by Fairview and happens to see a little piece of tail light laying on the ground. What?
Mm.
And
Legally blind too, by the way.
oh my God, dude.
Oh.
Okay.
All
All right.
right.
So
Well,
are
Salty,
we going over to Kick to watch some shit tonight?
we're going to a quick bit on YouTube, bit like how Publicly Buzz do just to
Mhm.
gather in the folks. So there's a redirect already set up for that, so nobody needs to go anywhere. Then we're going to head over to Kick and watch the last 2 episodes of A Body in the Snow. If you want to watch the first 3 episodes, they're there on my channel, Miss Shorty Delight. But Salty, could you please come back in 2 weeks as per wherever we are with things? It could be we're
Yeah.
on verdict watch by then. Shall we do that in another 2 weeks?
Yes, and I was thinking today, I was like, I've got to get you back on the show, and I need to do it at a time that's really convenient for you, right? Like,
We'll work something out.
is it morning time for you right now, right?
Yes,
Are you in the
11:30 a.m. Yes, 11:30.
Yeah, see, yeah, it's 8:30 p.m. for me, so it's like I have to remember that in my mind when we're talking. But yeah, I would love to have you back on.
I would love to.
With these 2 trials, I say 2 trials, Lori wrapping up soon because it's not going to be long. It's a slam
No.
dunk there. There's girl.
Yes.
I don't know if you saw her get escorted out of the courtroom. The judge ordered her out of the courtroom. He stood there and said, "Get her out of here."
I have some catching up to do. I'm definitely going to be checking out that because it sounds like it's
Lori's being Lori. Lori's being Lori. So anyway,
always.
but with the wrapping up these trials, I can get back to covering other true crime content.
Yes.
Yes, there's some stuff, you know, getting ready for pre-trial stuff with the Coburger Idaho 4 case and things like that. So I'd love to get you back on soon. We'll get together and get a time and do it on a weekend, of course, for you. So yeah, we'll do that soon. Well, thank you for having me. I appreciate it. And I came to Kick last time and hung out with you guys for that. So I will do the same tonight.
Excellent. Have a gummy, kick back.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Thank you, chat. You guys rock. I appreciate you all.
We appreciate you. Thank you for all your perspectives and thoughts. And I feel like we can almost get Salty to say free Karen Reed soon.
I know. God, I've been so close to hashtagging free Karen Reed, you know, for a while now, because every time the judge makes me mad or Hank irritates me, I'm like, oh my God. Or if I, you know, there you go. Or if one of the experts made a really strong point, oh shit, free Karen Reed, you know. So, but
I love it.
Hey, if the jury says not guilty, we got a free Karen Reed, right?
Boom, that's it. Let's make it happen. We'll manifest that shit. Thanks, Salty. I'll catch you after.
Amen, sister.
Amen.
All right. Bye.
Bye. Okay, shorties. Wow. Are we feeling better? We are feeling better. I had a feeling. Thank you so much, chat. Thank you so much, mods. Thank you, Ms. What the Fuck, for running the comments for me. Thank you. So you don't need to go anywhere. We're going to head over to YouTube. There's a redirect, so just stay to the end of the SideBAH. I've queued up SideBAH as the outro song. So you guys, we all together wrote this song. Enjoy. And I will see you in just a moment. A little bit on Kick, and then a little bit on YouTube, and then we'll head over to Kick. Thank you, Salty. Thank you, Shorties. Free Karen Reed. Not guilty, not guilty, not guilty. Boom.
silence. War in the courtroom. Verdict or violence.